Hello, I'm Matthew Swagger, SKHS Video Tech. The following couple minutes, I'm going to go over how to set up Adobe in the way that we do here at SKHS Video. So potentially you could do these same setups at home to get some video skills in. As it stands right now, Adobe Premiere and many school districts around the area and the nation are working out so students can have Premiere at home. I'm going to already guess that you have installed Premiere, you know your PC is set up for Premiere, and you've done all the other settings to make sure you can edit. But there are some settings that we need to get into after everything's installed so you can work properly with Premiere in the way that would be good for television, not just for the internet. So let's get into it. Okay, this is my desktop. It's pretty clean. I like keeping it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to I'm going to go ahead and get going here with a region of interest. I'm using a program called NDI to help do my screen caps. The first thing I'm going to do is go down here to where I have it pinned. I'm going to go ahead and use Prelude. Prelude has one job and one job only for me and for many editors. It takes the files from an SD card, such as this, and it puts it onto the PC. You want to do this. You want to get the video files off your SD card in some fashion. You never want to work directly off an SD card. The best analogy I can give, moving your files from an SD card, working with your files off an SD card versus moving them to your PC is trying to get groceries from the store 2 miles away by foot versus using a truck. You can do it. It's just going to take a lot longer, and you could run into issues. So I'm going to go ahead and start up Prelude. And as it gets going here, I'm going to go ahead and disable my region of interest so we can just see it load. Okay, so there's a few things that come up first. The first thing I want to do is start a new project. So I'm going to click on New Project, and when it comes to anything with Adobe, have a dedicated folder where you can have everything. I have one on my separate hard drive, V, Scratch Disk, Swagger, and this has 3 important folders for me. My cache folder, where everything will be saved that needs to be saved, just for Adobe. A downloads folder, where I'm going to put all my downloads for working with in, and my footage folder, where all of my footage from my SD cards are going to live there. So let me zoom in. Wish this was a little quicker. I'm going to have to clean up my taskbar here a little bit to make this a little bit easier to navigate. So like I said, I got cache, downloads, and footage. This is all on a secondary hard drive, so this will not interfere with my OS at all. I'm just going to come down here and say, you know what, I want to put this in my cache folder, and I'm going to make a project called Capture. I'm going to go ahead and go over and hit save, and I now have my project going. Now, a few things you want to do is go to Edit, Preferences, General, and kind of start working through this. You want to make sure all your any area that says cache is pointing to the same location. So again, for me, that's going to be V drive, Scratch Disk, Swagger, cache. This is also the time to double check that things are going out to your headphones, audio-wise, and also maybe you can up the brightness a little bit. I prefer a brighter background. Once that's all done, I'm just checking a few other things for myself. I want to click OK, and it's time to get content off my SD card. So getting content off your SD card, you can think, hey, I can just copy paste, but doing it this way guarantees, at least to me, Adobe's going to recognize what you're bringing in. So I want to click on Ingest, and I have 2 SD cards, I believe, connected, so at least one. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I only have one in there. And now, right now, I have something from a GoPro. So for GoPros, that content's going to be in the DCIM 100 GoPro folder. Now I'm instantly going to add that to favorites, and right here I'm going to start saying, hey, Okay, I see my footage. I can go to thumbnail mode. I can see it there as well. I know what that is. I can even scan through it. I just recorded that a few minutes ago on my bike. So I'm going to click on that. Next thing I want to do is come over here and find a destination. So I want find a destination to put my footage. So I'm going to hit transfer clips to destination, and I'm going to make sure it's going to my SKHS folder, which I've quickly put as a quick access over here, shortcut. Put it to my footage folder, and this is where I want all my footage to go. So by doing this, all my footage will go into that folder. So if I ever need to find anything, if anything becomes disconnected, I should be able to look right there. There are several other settings here. This tells you that it's going to make a subfolder based off the year, month, day, and time you've done this. Transcode can be really good where I don't use it. But there's a lot of things that I can go to transcoding that I'm not going to go into. This is just for simple editing. Once I have everything selected, I'm just going to hit ingest. This might take some time, as transferring things from an SD card, well, they take time. Okay, so as that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and change a setting of mine right here. And never. I'm trying to turn off the auto hiding over here. Come on, notifications. There we go. Wanted to just change that setting. Now, as this is transferring, sometimes ingestion can take a while. Right here, I'm waiting on this blue bar down here. Sometimes that first window, after you click on ingest, will stay up for a while. So you just have to let it go. The more clips, the longer your footage you have, the longer this process will take. So I'm just going to go in here real quick and start disabling some things I don't need. I don't want OneDrive up right now. Okay, and there's my NDI tools. Okay, as that's transferring, now would be the perfect time to go ahead and set up Adobe, or at least another version of Adobe Premiere. Prelude's only job, in my mind, is to get the footage off the SD card in a format that's usable for Premiere. So let's get Premiere going as we wait for Prelude. Premiere I have right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. For my initial first startup of Premiere, I'm going to go ahead and click on New Project. And I'm going to go ahead and name this Start Up Project. Let's get my region of interest configured so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So Startup Project. It's going right now to the C drive. I don't want it going there. I want it going to my scratch disk, which is on my V drive. So again, I got my shortcut, cache folder, then I'm just going to hit select folder. There's nothing more I need to change here. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now this is where Adobe looks when you first start it up. And personally, I don't like this setup. Many people will instantly go to editing and use this setup. I don't like this either. Adobe had a nice setup back in 2005, which Final Cut did use as well for a long time, that I prefer to use, and I think it's more intuitive for editors. So I'm going to start closing panels, and then I'll tell you which panels I'm going to leave. Move that over that way. Move this over here. Shrink that up. Move this over. Okay. So this is what I like to have. Just leave that full screen for the moment. So in order from left to right on the top, I have my project bin and tab. I have a media browser tab where I can go ahead and, well, browse for my media. I have an effects tab where I can find special effects. Next I have a source tab in window. This is where I can work with an individual clip by itself. I have an effects control tab, so when I'm applying effects, this is where I can manipulate them very easily, and also things with that one specific clip in the source monitor. Next is my program window. This is going to show you what's in your timeline, in your sequence. That's going to be your final product. Down here is your timeline. So the timeline is and will always be where you're going to construct your video. Finally, we have tools. This is where most of your master tools are, and then your VU meter. Once you have a setup that you prefer, I would say go to Windows, Workspace, and Save as New Workspace. And I always call it Final Cut Pro 7, because that's the layout I'm used to. Now for me personally, there's a few more changes I would like to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit. I'm going to come down to Preferences, so let's see if I can actually show you that. Edit, Preferences, General. Wait for that to load. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is go to Appearance, make that lighter. Audio, I don't think there's anything I need to adjust here. I'm going to change the default input to no, and my audio output to, well, headphones. Autosaves, don't make your autosaves any less than 5 if you have to. 10's preferred, so it'll only autosave if you've done something in that amount of time as well. So I prefer doing 10 minutes, and I'll crank up my autosaves to 50. All these things I'm just going to skip for the moment. Right here, default media scaling. I'm going to go to set to frame size. So whatever I bring in is going to hopefully, actually, yes, it's set to frame size. So whatever I bring in is going to expand and fill my canvas of my program. So if I bring in 720p video and I'm working with the 1080 project, it will just auto scale and it leaves one less thing I have to do down the line. Okay, media cache, again, this should be all pointing to the same location. You might want to go down here to media cache management, go to automatically delete cache folders older than 7 days. You cannot go lower than 7. Memory, don't need to adjust that. For me, I have to keep this to NDI output, but I recommend for you Adobe Desktop Audio, Adobe Desktop Audio, and declicking anything else. For me, because of what I'm doing to demonstrate here, I need to keep this as in these settings. Then finally, on this page right here, I'm going to go ahead and render audio when rendering, because there's going to be several things I'm going to be doing that I want audio to render. I'm going to not play back as soon as my renders are done, and I'm going to turn all these to frames, so I can just, at least for myself, know that if I need to adjust any presets with video transitions, audio transitions, or image default transitions. Okay, so that's all set up. Looking now, Adobe's looking to me like you were ready to edit, but there's a few more things I want to do. There's some creature comforts I want to do right now. One of them is this tool down here, this T tool, has some issues. It can work, but I've noticed crashes for me personally. So I don't like doing that, using that. I prefer using the legacy titler. And there's some stuff with audio as well that I want to go ahead and preset, so at the very least I can just manage it quickly. So I'm now going to go back up to Edit, and I'm going to go down to, if I can expand it, Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts. And here, I'm going to go ahead and search the word title, grab the legacy title, and I'm going to go ahead and put that to my F7 key. And I'm going to go ahead and type in the word hardware. And I'm going to grab this audio hardware and assign that to my F12 key. And this will be very nice in the future when I want to make graphics, or when I also want to change the output from my headphones over to my speaker very quickly. Okay, everything's ready to go. If I go back to Prelude now, hey, my file's in. I can even go in here and scrub through it. Again, that was just recorded this morning, minutes ago. I'm going to go ahead and actually make sure you can see this all. There we go. So I can go through here. I can scrub through this footage. And this is just in Prelude right now. I also am going to now take out my SD card from the GoPro and put in a SD card from a different camera type and bring that in. So the other camera type records in AVCHD. So I have to go ahead and add its folder. There we go. Bring in that, click that and hit ingest. And now that will come over too. That's pretty quick. This is from earlier when I was doing an audio test. Okay. I got everything in it for Prelude I want from off the SD cards. I can unplug all my SD cards right now, close Prelude, and I am done with it. Yay! So, in Premiere, what do? Well, the first thing I gotta do is make a sequence. Making a sequence is the most critical thing you have to do first, in my opinion. So, I'm gonna go here, and there's several ways to make a sequence. Let's bring the region of interest back up. Okay. So you can, if I go right there, there we go. There. I can go right here and go to sequence. I can go right here, right click, and sequence, new item sequence. I can go to file, new sequence, or I can do the shortcut Control N. Anyway, I need to make a sequence. Now, there's several settings here that you could choose from. I work in AVCHD most of the time, so I'm going to find AVCHD 1080i. There we go, AVCHD 1080i 30, 60i. That is what I work in. There are other formats for that if you work with DSLRs or other types of cameras. It really depends on what footage you're working with that you should be exploring what type of sequence you should be using. I think, just note that if you do DSLRs, you're going to be using up a lot of hard drive space versus AVCHD. So I'm going to use AVCHD, click OK. OK. Now it's starting to look proper. I'm starting to see that this looks like Adobe, or at least what you might see on television that people work in. But there's still a few more things I want to enable. I'm going to start from the program monitor itself. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that. Right there. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is go right here and turn that to full because I have the horsepower to see my, the quality of my footage. You might not have that horsepower, so you might want to keep that at half. I'm going to go to this plus indicator and remove markers, in and out points, these dropping of footage, and comparison view. And I'm going to add snapping in the program monitor, a ruler. So I got actually a ruler and guides. Over here, I'm going to go ahead and hit FX mute and my safe margins. Click OK. Next, I'm going to go to this wrench, go to both fields. Then I'm going to hit the wrench again. I'm going to go to Overlay Settings, Settings, New Window, and I'm going to enable 4:3 saves. Now you might be asking yourself why. Most of the work I do is going to end up in a 4:3 output, so SD television. So I need to make sure that I know what my saves are. And looking here at this window, and I will go ahead and shrink it. There we go. This outermost white box is HD video save. You're guaranteed anything you have there will be seen on the HD TV. The next box, or rectangle actually, is called HD title safe. Any text there will be legible on the HD TV. This line right here indicates SD video safe. So from the left and right, if you have stuff going there, it's guaranteed to be seen on an SD signal, which our cable station is. And finally, we have this innermost box, which is HD title safe. Any text within here will be legible on all TVs. So that's a quick rundown of the saves. Okay, so my program monitor is set up. I'm now going to set up my timeline settings. By the way, doing these settings like I'm doing will just carry over every time you make a new project. So this is just the initial setup that we're taking care of right now. I'm gonna go to the gear, or the wrench actually, and I'm gonna move this up so I can see it all. I'm gonna enable everything here. This will make it easier to identify the things in your timeline. There's a few other things here you can do, but I'm not worried about them right now. Okay, and next, I'm at the point where I need to go bring in footage. So let's go to Media Browser, and let's go to that folder I was talking about, where I'm saving everything to. So that's gonna be on my video V. Click down here to go into list mode. Scratch disk, Swagger, and now I should add that to favorites, right clicking on that folder. I'm gonna add my footage folder to favorites, and my downloads folder to favorites. Meaning that I can access, anytime I need to go find stuff, it should be in one of those 3 folders. I can just click on it, and I should be able to see my content. I'm gonna go in here, and as I noted earlier, Prelude, it makes a new folder based on the year, month, date, and time you started moving your files. So I'm gonna go into here. There's my GoPro footage. And you might be saying, hey, I see ingest right there. Should I click that? No. Ingest here can be a pain in the rear to work with in Premiere. That's why we have Prelude and why we use Prelude only to move files. We go ahead and right click and import. There's my footage. Go back to Media Browser. Go to the next folder. I'm gonna go ahead and right click on this file, import that. And that's my audio check from earlier. Okay. So let's get going here. I have a few more settings I want to do. Down here, my source monitor. I want to turn that to full. Remove these over here. Edit my safes. And I want to see both fields. Okay. Adobe now is set up in the way that I prefer to set it up in. First thing I want to do now is to Control S to quick save. Okay, so let's talk about manipulating footage real quick. So I want to bring in just the audio of this right here. Actually, correction, let's start with the GoPro footage. So here's my GoPro footage. I actually rode my bike over to the district office, kind of biked around, and I want to start it right here as I leave the stop sign. I want to go ahead and fast forward until I get to, there we go, right about there. Okay, so what did I just do? Okay, well this right here is my playhead, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Whenever you double click on a clip, it sends it to the source monitor. The source monitor is the easiest area to change and work with the clip. So in here, I can grab the playhead and do what's called scrubbing, and I just scrub through the video to find where I want to look. You've probably done this before in any video playback tool or playback program. Now this is the part where I want to start it. I'm going to hit the space bar to play. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and go down here and do what's called mark in. You can do that with the I key or clicking this tool. And what it's telling Premiere, Premiere is telling the clip, okay, this is the point right here where I want you to start if I'm going to use you. So everything right here will not play back, but what's highlighted will. So I want to keep on playing, use the L key to fast forward. Spacebar to stop, and I'm going to mark out. So I'm marking in and out what I want of that clip. I have now made it what's called an edited clip, and I need to bring that into my timeline. Some people will initially click this right here, drag and drop, but only the video is going to come down. They might click this right here and drag and drop, but only the audio will come down. To bring down audio and video linked together, You want to click here, click and hold here, drag down, and they will come down together. You might get this problem with a lot of your footage. I would say, I would go ahead and hit change sequence settings only if the clip you're bringing down is the footage you want to work with is the footage type you want to work with in general. So if you were working with a lot of MP4s from YouTube, make sure I would be very careful because YouTube videos can sometimes not be true 1080. They can probably be 720 or lower. If you're working with a personal camera footage, it could be a little wonky as well. But there's very few times I would actually hit change sequence settings. I'm going to hit keep existing settings so it stays all the same. And there we go. There is my footage right here. I'm going to hit play. In fact, I could probably, let's do this. So, yep, that's what I recorded just a little while ago on my bike. Go ahead and come out of that. So what I'm going to do now is, okay, I brought down an edited clip. Now let's go over to this clip. And again, I just want the audio. Well, if I click right here, I can just see the audio. And I can do that same, mark in, mark out. And there is my audio that I want to bring in. I can click and drag it down into my timeline. And it's now right over here. And if I go like this, you should be able to hear both. This is an audio check, 1, 2, 3. Audio check, 1, 2, 3. Test 1, test 1, test 2. Okay, so what's next? Well, I have an edited clip in my timeline, I have audio in my timeline. Let's look more at the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and do a right click, delete my empty tracks. If you need to ever add more tracks, you can just drag an audio or video clip down into the dead space and it'll make a new track. Premiere separates video on the top and the bottom. So video is always on the top, audio is always on the bottom. You're going to have about 99 tracks of video, 99 tracks of audio. There is a master track for audio. I try not to adjust it. And with it, there's also some tools over here. Snapping, if you move things around, with it on, it will snap. If you go here, link selection, I can then move around a clip by itself and disconnect its audio. Control Z right there to undo that. And finally, if there's things I want to start doing with audio that's very unique, I'm going to go ahead and double click and mess with what's called the rubber bands. We'll go over the rubber bands next time. Okay, so I did say that there was one safety I always like having, and that is the quality of life, and that is legacy title. So I'm going to hit the S7 key right now, click OK, and here we go, the legacy titler. I really like it compared to the T tool. The T tool does work, like I was saying earlier, but it has its own issues, and for my purposes, it crashes way too much for my work. So in here, you can think of it as a big drawing program, simple slide tool here. So I'm going to go click and do hello. Ooh, here we go. Go to the T tool here and go to type hello world. Old programming joke. Go ahead and find a decent font. And then if I want this to really stand out, I can go ahead and give it a different color types. And I'll go into more of this next time. Just trying to make something that looks semi-decent. Add an outline, add a shadow. Center, center, center. Make this big. Once I close it, it still saves it and has it in my bin. I can drag that down. Like such. And if I go here, you can see that I have it right there in my timeline. Hello world. It stands out. I think it's legible enough, and it will work for what I have. So this is the basic Adobe setup. I would recommend that if you have Adobe installed or have the time, at least get something in your timeline like this. Let me go ahead and auto. Oop, wrong auto. Let's go here. So, just to recap, this was how to set up Adobe in the way that we do here at SKHS Video. For working with GoPro footage and also DSLR footage will be found in the DCIM folder like we saw in Prelude, and the AVCHD footage which comes off of cameras like we have in video production here. If you follow this, Premiere will be set up in a way that you can use to edit simple basic edits. If you're an SKHS video student, we are currently looking into how you can use Adobe at home to at least keep your skills. Keep tuned on that. Tomorrow, we're going to be going over how to edit a simple project. I will have that footage actually hosted online so you could potentially work with that at home. And with that being said, that is the end of this lesson for basic Adobe setup. If you have any questions, you may go ahead and post them right now in the chat. Let's see, gonna go auto on that. Okay, I don't see any questions. And hopefully this time my audio is working. I was doing this yesterday, but the audio wasn't working as well as I thought it should have been. It was completely bonkers. So this hopefully will work for you, and you can actually hear what my instructions are, and that will be it for this. So I expect that I'm going to do these lessons around 11 o'clock every day, every Wednesday, Monday through Friday, sorry, about how to work with Adobe and other video skills that we cover in video production here at SKHS. I hope you enjoy, and I hope these will help improve what you do video-wise and keep your skills at least up to par, to where they have been or even better. So with that, I'll see you next time.